How many times have you acted without thinking, as if your instincts took over? Maybe you said something in the heat of the moment, or made a quick decision without considering it, only to regret it later. Don't worry, it happens to everyone. But Stoicism teaches us that real strength comes from pausing, thinking, and acting wisely. Controlling impulses doesn't mean ignoring emotions. It means learning to use them in our favor, instead of letting them control us. Do you feel like you could have more control over yourself? Then this message is for you. The Stoics compared our impulses to wild horses, powerful but unpredictable. If we don't learn to guide them, they can take us in dangerous directions. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This means that our impulses are daily challenges, and the way we handle them shapes the kind of life we'll have, one of balance or one filled with regret. Have you ever stopped to think about how your choices affect your future? Imagine the impact of mastering your impulses and acting wisely instead of just reacting without thinking. You'd strengthen your relationships, avoid mistakes, and live with more peace of mind. Every moment gives us a chance to practice this control. Today, we'll go through 7 Stoic teachings that can help you manage your impulses. It's easier than it sounds, but it requires one key thing: your commitment. Are you ready to take control of your life? Before we start, write in the comments, "I control my impulses." This will be your personal commitment. Don't forget to like this video so more people can see this message, and subscribe to the channel to continue this Stoic journey with us. Mastering your mind starts with small actions. Let's do this together. Tip number 1, breathe before you act. When we're in the middle of an intense situation, emotions can be overwhelming. Anger, fear, frustration, or even excitement can push us to act without thinking, often against our own best interests. The philosopher Epictetus said, "First learn to control your tongue, then your thoughts." This reminds us that self-control starts in small moments, in the pause we take before reacting. That short break may seem simple, but it's where real change begins. Breathing is a powerful tool, but most people don't realize its true value. It's the first thing we do when we're born, and the last thing we do before we leave this world. Yet, in the rush of daily life, we forget to use it to our advantage. When we're under pressure, we tend to breathe quickly and shallowly, which makes our bodies even more tense. This cycle fuels our impulses and makes us more reactive. But when we take a moment to breathe deeply, we begin to break that pattern. Imagine you're in a heated argument. Your heart races, your hands might sweat, and everything inside you urges an immediate response. This is the perfect moment to breathe. Inhale deeply through your nose, count to 4, hold for a few seconds, and slowly exhale through your mouth. Repeat this 3 times. Simple, right? But this small action sends a message to your brain. Everything is under control. This gives you the time you need to think before you act. Not only does this reduce impulsive reactions, but it also trains your mind to be calmer. Think of it like a musician. The more you practice, the easier it becomes. Another way to use breathing strategically is to pair it with self-reflection. After a few deep breaths, ask yourself, what do I want to achieve with this action? Does it align with my values and goals? This simple question can stop an impulsive reaction and create space for better decisions. Stoicism teaches us that we can't control what happens around us, but we can control how we respond. So when you breathe before acting, you're taking charge of your response. You're telling yourself, I choose how I act. I'm not a slave to my emotions. You can apply this in any situation, whether at work, in family arguments, or in everyday decisions. For example, imagine receiving criticism at work that feels unfair. Your first instinct might be to respond defensively or snap back. But what if, instead, you paused and took a breath? That simple act could help you stay calm, evaluate whether there's truth in the feedback, and respond in a smarter way. This not only avoids unnecessary conflict, but also builds a reputation as someone balanced and rational. Breathing before acting also applies to major life choices. How often do we make decisions based on outside pressure or temporary emotions? Buying something we don't need, replying to a message in the heat of the moment, or even changing jobs without thinking it through. In all these cases, a brief pause to breathe can be the difference between a mistake and a well-thought-out decision. Beyond helping with impulse control, mindful breathing has other benefits. It reduces stress, improves focus, and helps us stay present. When you breathe with intention, You're also training your mind to focus on the present instead of getting lost in worries or regrets. At the end of the day, it's important to remember that controlling your impulses doesn't mean hiding your emotions. They have a purpose and are part of who you are. What truly matters is learning how to use them in a positive way instead of letting them control you. Every deep breath you take is a quiet reminder that you're the one in charge of your life. So, the next time you feel a strong impulse taking over, remember this Stoic advice. First, learn to control your tongue, then your thoughts. Take a breath, pause for a moment, and give yourself the time to choose a response that aligns with your values. This is the first step toward living with more wisdom and fewer regrets. As Marcus Aurelius said, inner peace begins when we learn to control our minds. Tip number 2, practice the conscious pause. The ability to pause before reacting is a rare and valuable skill. We live in a world that demands quick responses, instant decisions, and non-stop productivity. But the Stoics teach that true wisdom comes from slowing down. Seneca said, "Nothing is more dangerous than making decisions when the mind is unsettled." This restless state comes from unchecked impulses, which can lead to mistakes that are hard to fix. That's why making it a habit to pause before acting works as a filter between what we feel and what we do. In tough moments, we often feel like we need to respond immediately, as if everything depends on a quick reaction. But most of the time, that urgency isn't real. When we take just a few seconds to breathe and think, we create space between our emotions and our actions. This space allows the initial feeling to settle down so that reason can take the lead. It doesn't mean ignoring what we feel. It just gives our minds a chance to make a more balanced decision. This simple pause brings clarity, and the best part is that it doesn't have to be long. Just a few seconds can make a huge difference. A simple trick to practice this is to count to 5 in your head before responding to a stressful situation. This small habit not only slows down the moment, but also keeps emotions from making decisions for you. Plus, pausing isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. It shows that you have control over your actions and aren't just reacting to whatever happens around you. Of course, practicing the conscious pause isn't always easy. Sometimes, emotions hit so hard that it feels impossible not to react immediately. In those moments, remember that you always have the power to choose, even if it seems difficult. A helpful question to ask yourself is, what actually needs to be done right now? This simple question keeps you focused on what's important and prevents impulsive decisions. It also helps you stay present instead of getting caught up in future worries or past regrets. Pausing before reacting is also a sign of respect, both for yourself and for others. When we act on impulse, we can end up saying or doing something that hurts someone. A short pause can be the difference between an argument and a productive conversation, between words that harm and words that heal. Imagine, for example, that you're having a disagreement with a friend or partner. Instead of replying immediately in the heat of the moment, take a breath, think about what you want to say, and choose a response that actually helps solve the problem. Stoicism offers several techniques to strengthen this habit. One of them is negative visualization. Before situations that you know might trigger impulsive reactions, try imagining different scenarios and how you'd like to respond to each one. This helps your mind be better prepared to act with calm and awareness. Another useful technique is writing about moments in your day when you either succeeded or failed at pausing before acting. Reviewing these situations helps you recognize patterns and improve your responses over time. Beyond interactions with others, the conscious pause is essential for major life decisions. Buying something expensive, accepting a new job opportunity, or even responding to criticism might feel urgent in the moment. But when these decisions are made impulsively, they can lead to regrets that last a long time. Train yourself not to act in the heat of emotion, even when it feels necessary. The most important choices in life deserve a little more thought. If you're still unsure about the power of the conscious pause, think about how it shapes the way you see yourself. Every time you pause and choose your response, you're shaping the person you become. You stop being someone who simply reacts and instead become someone who acts with intention. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, but over time it becomes part of your character. The conscious pause is like a shield. It won't stop challenges or strong emotions from coming your way, but it will give you the chance to handle them with more wisdom. Practicing this habit is an investment in your peace of mind, your relationships, and your future. Remember, pausing isn't just about doing nothing. It's about making a mindful choice to act with awareness. In the end, the lesson is clear. Instead of being swept away by the storm of impulses, be the captain steering the ship. Make the conscious pause a daily practice and see how it transforms your life. After all, as the Stoics always remind us, true power lies within you. Now, back to tip 3. Question the source of your impulse. To really understand your impulses, you need more than just control. You need curiosity. Every impulse we feel, whether it's anger, fear, or desire, has a root cause. This root isn't always clear, but it's often deeply connected to our beliefs, past experiences, or unmet emotional needs. When you allow yourself to question why you feel a certain way, you open the door to self-awareness that can change how you relate to yourself and the world around you. Reacting without understanding what drives us is like trying to put out a fire without knowing where it started. You might control the flames for a while, but the fire always comes back. Stoicism teaches us to look inward, to observe what motivates us, and to seek the why before the how. When Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters," he was talking about the need to understand our reactions before taking action. This questioning doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes it's as simple as stopping and asking, "Why do I feel this way right now?" Or, "What am I really trying to achieve with this reaction?" These questions may seem obvious, but we rarely take the time to explore them. Often, we act automatically, led by fleeting emotions rather than thoughtful choices. By building the habit of reflecting, we start to notice the patterns that feed our impulses. The triggers for our impulses are usually tied to stories we carry. Maybe a simple comment triggered an overreaction because it touched an old wound, or the urge to buy something on a whim is an unconscious attempt to fill an emotional gap. By questioning the source of each impulse, you not only avoid harmful reactions but also learn more about yourself. This learning is a powerful tool because it lets you address problems at their root instead of just treating the symptoms. Remember, questioning your impulses requires honesty with yourself. It can be uncomfortable to admit that the anger you felt in an argument was fueled by personal insecurities, or that the need for approval is hiding a lack of self-worth. Yet, it's in this discomfort that growth happens. When you face the truth about yourself, you start freeing yourself from the weight of uncontrolled emotions and impulsive reactions. The practice of questioning your impulses also helps improve your relationships. When you understand the reason behind your reactions, it's easier to communicate your feelings clearly and avoid misunderstandings. Imagine a situation where you feel annoyed because a friend showed up late. Instead of reacting with criticism or sarcasm, you can reflect and realize that your frustration comes from feeling disrespected. This awareness allows you to express your feelings constructively rather than escalating the conflict. Questioning your impulses isn't just useful in moments of tension or conflict. It's also important in moments of excitement or excessive enthusiasm. Often, our best intentions can lead to rushed decisions, especially when emotions are high. For example, the excitement of taking on a new project might hide the fact that you're already overwhelmed. Asking yourself, "Why am I so excited about this?" can help balance reason with emotion. This approach also helps avoid impulsive pitfalls, like regret. How many times have you made a decision in the heat of the moment and later realized it wasn't what you really wanted? By making a habit of questioning your impulses before acting, you reduce these chances and make choices that are more aligned with your values and long-term goals. The process of questioning doesn't have to be a solo journey. Talking to someone you trust or writing your thoughts in a journal can be incredibly helpful. When we put our emotions and impulses into words, we often see them more clearly. Plus, sharing your feelings with someone can bring new insights and help you better understand what's driving your reactions. In the end, questioning the source of your impulses is an exercise in freedom. It's the difference between living at the mercy of outside forces and being the author of your own journey. Every time you choose to think before you act, you're strengthening your mind and getting closer to the life you want to live. After all, as the Stoics teach us, the greatest power we have is over ourselves. Tip 4. Focus on what you can control. There's nothing more frustrating than trying to change what's beyond our reach. At some point, we all face situations where it feels like the world is against us. In those moments, the feeling of helplessness can be overwhelming. Stoicism, however, offers a simple but effective solution. Focus your attention on what you can control and let go of what you can't. Most human worries come from wanting to control the uncontrollable. We want people to treat us a certain way, the weather to fit our plans, or things to go exactly as we expect. This constant desire traps us in a cycle of frustration and anxiety, because as we know, reality rarely bends to our wishes. By shifting our focus to our actions and choices, we start to find the peace we've been looking for. This shift in perspective takes practice and attention. Often we waste mental energy on pointless worries. What if it goes wrong? What if they don't like me? What if something unexpected happens? These questions freeze us, while the real question, what can I do about it, takes a back seat. Focusing on what can be done right now is the first step to taking back control of your life. Consider a common example. Imagine you're stuck in traffic, running late for an important appointment. Your first reaction might be anger or anxiety, but if you step back and look at the situation, you realize that you can't change the traffic. So, what can you control? Maybe calling to let them know you'll be late, using the time to review what you need to say in the meeting, or listening to something calming, like a podcast or relaxing music. Focusing on what you can control turns a frustrating situation into an opportunity to act calmly. When you learn to direct your focus, you realize that many things that seemed important actually aren't. Other people's opinions, for instance, are one of the biggest challenges here. We want to be liked, accepted, and admired, but what others think is beyond our control. Stoicism teaches us that it's wiser to focus our energy on staying true to our values and principles, letting external opinions adjust on their own. There's also great freedom in accepting what we can't change. This doesn't mean giving up, but rather recognizing that the energy spent fighting the inevitable is better used elsewhere. When you stop resisting what's out of your hands, you begin to channel your energy into actions that truly matter. This mindset not only makes you more productive, but also brings a sense of lightness and mental clarity. One of the most effective ways to build this focus is to consciously separate what's internal and what's external. Internal things are your thoughts, attitudes, actions, and choices. External things are other people's reactions, random events, and circumstances you can't control. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, ask yourself, is this inside or outside of my control? This simple question can change how you deal with tough situations. By focusing on what you can control, you also become more resilient. After all, when your energy is directed towards your own actions, you strengthen yourself, no matter what happens around you. Imagine the difference between facing a challenge with a proactive mindset, looking for solutions, and facing it by complaining about what can't be changed. The first approach empowers you, the second drains you. For Stoics, this practice is more than just a life strategy. It's a moral principle. Epictetus said that true freedom comes when we stop believing we can control what's out of our hands. When we embrace this teaching, we stop wasting energy trying to manipulate what's unreachable and start living with more clarity and purpose. Ending the day with this reflection can be a helpful practice. Review the moments when you spent energy on external worries and think about how you could have redirected your focus. This daily exercise not only strengthens your mind, but also helps create a habit of living with more peace and confidence. The strength of a balanced life lies in being able to tell what we can and can't control. When you focus on what's within your reach, you not only free yourself from the burden of unrealistic expectations, but also discover the power that's always been inside you. This isn't just a Stoic lesson, it's an invitation to live with more ease and intention. Tip 5. Become an observer of yourself. We're often so caught up in our emotions and impulses that we fail to notice what's really going on inside of us. The practice of observing yourself, of becoming a spectator of your own thoughts and actions, is a powerful skill Stoicism teaches. It's not about distancing yourself from who you are, but about gaining a broader view of who you are and how you react to life situations. This practice starts with a moment of pause and attention. In times of conflict, anxiety, or impulse, you can ask yourself, what am I really feeling right now? And why am I feeling this way? By asking these questions, you begin to separate immediate emotion from rational thought. This separation is key to not acting impulsively, but with awareness. When we allow ourselves to observe, without judgment, what's going on inside of us, we gain the clarity needed to make wise decisions. Creating the habit of observing yourself also requires patience. At first, it may be difficult to tell the difference between what you feel and what you think, but over time, paying attention to your own patterns becomes more natural. You start to notice when anger tries to take over or when an impulsive desire tries to control your actions. Instead of being swept away by these emotions, you learn to recognize their presence and decide how to handle them. The act of observing yourself is also a way to gain control over your mind. Instead of letting thoughts become automatic commands, you start treating them as suggestions that you can choose to follow or not. Imagine your mind as a room full of voices, each one representing a thought or emotion. Being an observer means listening to all these voices, but choosing which one to follow. This level of control doesn't eliminate your impulses, but it gives you the chance to act, instead of being overtaken by the moment. Another important benefit of becoming an observer of yourself is that it greatly improves your relationships. Often, the people around us are affected by our impulsive reactions. When you observe yourself, you can notice when you're about to react too strongly or when a situation is triggering an out-of-proportion emotional response. This not only prevents unnecessary conflicts, but also promotes a more peaceful coexistence. A practical way to start this journey is to spend a few minutes each day reflecting on your actions and thoughts. It can be before going to bed, when you review what happened throughout the day. Ask yourself, what did I feel today? How did I react to difficult situations? Could I have acted differently? This type of reflection should not be a harsh self-criticism, but rather an opportunity for learning and growth. In addition to reflection, techniques like meditation can be very helpful in developing this skill. During meditation, you train your mind to observe the thoughts that come up without getting attached to them. This exercise strengthens your ability to detach from momentary impulses, allowing you to analyze them more clearly. Over time, this practice carries over into daily life, making you more aware of your reactions and choices. Observing yourself also means accepting. There's no point in identifying your emotions and impulses if you're constantly fighting against them. The goal is not to deny what you feel, but to understand it. For example, when feeling frustrated, acknowledge frustration as a passing emotion and ask, what is this trying to tell me? Is there something I need to change or learn? This approach not only reduces the intensity of the emotion, but also turns it into an opportunity for self-discovery. Stoicism teaches us that life is made up of moments, and each moment offers us a choice: react or act. Becoming an observer of yourself is what turns automatic reactions into thoughtful actions. It's what allows you to take control of your life instead of being controlled by it. More than just a Stoic practice, this skill is a tool for living with more balance and purpose. At the end of each day, by observing your own actions and thoughts, you'll realize that small adjustments can lead to big changes. Every impulse you control, every emotion you understand, and every decision you make consciously is a step toward becoming your best self. After all, true mastery begins when we stop being the participants and become the attentive, wise observers of our own story. Tip 6. Cultivate virtue as your guide. In moments of uncertainty, when the path seems unclear and emotions threaten to take control, Stoic virtues are pillars for a life guided by purpose. Without a clear moral compass, we become at the mercy of momentary impulses, reacting more from instinct than awareness. Cultivating virtues helps us act in line with our values, even in the most challenging situations. Although virtues might seem like idealized concepts far removed from everyday life, they are practical and accessible. Think of a situation when you feel anger rising inside you, ready to explode. The virtue of moderation invites you to pause, breathe, and choose words that bring balance instead of giving in to the heat of the moment. Courage, on the other hand, pushes you to face tough truths, even when fear tries to paralyze you. Small decisions like these accumulate over time, transforming our actions and shaping our character. When we use virtues as our guide, the world around us takes on a new perspective. Challenges stop being just obstacles and become opportunities to practice what we value. A problem at work is no longer just something to fix, but a chance to practice patience, empathy, and fairness. This mindset turns every interaction into a moment of learning and growth, reinforcing our moral compass. However, living according to virtues isn't easy. The immediate path often seems more tempting. Giving in to anger after an injustice, ignoring a tough responsibility, or seeking approval from others are common temptations. What sets those who live with purpose apart is the constant choice of what's right, even when it's harder. This practice, repeated every day, builds a solid foundation for facing life's challenges with strength. One of the greatest advantages of cultivating virtues is the clarity they bring to decision-making. When we define wisdom as an essential value, for example, we begin to assess our choices in a different way. Instead of giving into external pressure or internal confusion, we can ask, does this decision reflect my values? Does it contribute to my purpose? If the answer is yes, we move forward with confidence. If not, we change course. This process reduces uncertainty and increases a sense of control, making life more focused. Beyond shaping our actions, Virtues also have a profound impact on our relationships. When we act with fairness, we pass integrity and respect to others. Moderation makes us examples of balance and calm. Courage inspires those around us to face their own fears. Virtues have the power to positively influence not only our lives, but also the community we are part of. A virtuous life is a lesson in itself, teaching more through example than words. Incorporating virtues into everyday life requires constant practice. Start small. When making a decision, ask yourself, does this choice reflect courage or fear, justice or selfishness? Over time, these reflections become automatic, and virtues become part of who we are. Also, set aside a moment at the end of each day to evaluate how you applied the virtues. Ask yourself, was I wise in my choices? Did I show patience and moderation? This practice isn't about judging yourself, but about learning and improving your character. Virtues are also an antidote to destructive impulses. Often, we act impulsively because we're disconnected from our values. Reconnecting with virtues allows us to recognize and process emotions without letting them take control. In this way, virtues not only guide our actions but also promote emotional balance, creating harmony between what we feel and what we do. Stoicism teaches us that living with virtue is the path to a meaningful life. It's not about achieving perfection, but about seeking constant progress. Every mistake is an opportunity to learn, reflect, and act more wisely next time. Ask yourself regularly, did my actions today reflect the virtues I want to cultivate? This self-reflection keeps your moral compass pointed in the right direction. Living with virtue is more than a personal practice. It's a commitment to the life we want to build and the impact we want to have on the world. When you choose to be guided by virtues, you not only overcome impulses but also find true freedom, the freedom to live in line with your values, no matter the circumstances. So follow the Stoics' advice. Use virtues as your compass, let them guide your actions, shape your relationships, and strengthen your spirit. For it is in them that the secret to a life with purpose and meaning lies. Tip 7. Embrace momentary discomfort. Discomfort is an inevitable part of the human experience. From small annoyances to big challenges, we all face times when discomfort seems to take over our thoughts and actions. However, it is precisely in these moments that the opportunity for growth lies. Stoicism teaches us that discomfort should not be seen as an enemy to be eliminated at all costs, but as a valuable teacher that can teach us resilience and wisdom. Embracing momentary discomfort is an important step in overcoming impulses and acting more consciously. When we feel discomfort, our natural reaction is to seek quick relief. Whether it's the irritation that arises during an argument, the anxiety before an important decision, or the frustration of not reaching something we want, these feelings push us to make fast and often thoughtless responses. We try to get rid of discomfort immediately, often with choices that offer temporary pleasure but may lead to negative consequences later. This search for quick relief is like feeding a fire with more fuel. It grows and consumes us even more. However, learning to deal with discomfort rather than trying to escape it can completely change the way we face life's challenges. When discomfort arises, it's natural to want to react right away. But what if instead you stop to observe what's happening inside you? Often, discomfort shows up physically: a tight chest, a knot in the stomach, or a racing heart. Recognizing these signs can be the first step to breaking the cycle of automatic reaction. This brief moment of mindful attention opens space to think more clearly and choose how to respond, rather than just reacting. Embracing discomfort doesn't mean being indifferent. On the contrary, it's an act of courage. It's choosing to face the emotion that comes up, rather than letting it control you. For example, when feeling irritated with someone, it may seem easier and more satisfying to respond impulsively, but this usually only makes things worse. However, by accepting irritation as a passing emotion, you give yourself time and clarity to respond more calmly and constructively, both to the situation and to your relationships. One effective way to practice this acceptance is by changing how you view discomfort. Instead of seeing it as something bad, start seeing it as an opportunity to grow stronger. Just as the body strengthens by facing physical challenges, the mind also grows by dealing with emotional discomfort. This shift in perspective turns tough moments into opportunities for learning and growth, allowing you to handle life more steadily. It's important to remember that momentary discomfort is just that, momentary. In the heat of the moment, it may seem unbearable, but over time, its intensity fades. By resisting the urge to act impulsively, You create space for the emotion to lose its power, allowing for a more thoughtful and sensible response. Often, what seemed impossible to bear at first becomes much easier when you give yourself time to process. Philosophers like Marcus Aurelius advocated practices that helped face discomfort more calmly. One of these practices is negative visualization, where you imagine difficult situations and reflect on how you would handle them. This mental preparation helps reduce the emotional impact of real situations, making them less scary and easier to deal with. By preparing for discomfort, you become less vulnerable to it when it actually happens. Another benefit of embracing momentary discomfort is the positive impact it has on your relationships. Many of our impulsive reactions happen in the heat of the moment and negatively affect those around us. When you learn to stop, take a deep breath, and think before acting, you show respect and care for the feelings of others. This strengthens bonds and creates an environment of trust and mutual understanding, reducing unnecessary conflicts. To make this practice part of your daily routine, start with small habits. When you feel discomfort, take a moment to pause and breathe deeply. Mentally repeat something like, "This is temporary, I can handle this." This simple action creates space between the emotion and the reaction, allowing you to respond with more clarity and intention. Accepting momentary discomfort is above all a path to inner freedom. It's deciding that you will no longer be a slave to your emotions or external circumstances. It's an exercise in inner strength, self-control, and resilience. Over time, this habit changes not only the way you handle challenges, but also the quality of your decisions and the peace you live with. After all, as Stoicism teaches us, true power isn't in avoiding challenges, but in facing them with wisdom and balance. We've reached an important point in our reflection, but the journey doesn't end here. Each piece of advice we've explored is an invitation for you to apply Stoicism in your life and discover the power of mastering your impulses. Now, I'd like to know, what did you find most difficult or interesting? If you've made it this far, comment below, "I made it to the end," and show that you're committed to this personal transformation. Your participation is key for us to continue growing together in the Stoic community. Oh, and if this message made sense to you, please give it a like. It's a small gesture, but it has a big impact. And of course, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the upcoming videos. Here together, we strengthen our minds and our choices every day. The next step is yours, and I'm here to walk alongside you.